Hey, wrestling fans, welcome to the One Wing Wrestling Podcast, where we help you navigate the complex world of pro wrestling, bring you the best matches, world class wrestlers, and news you can count on. At One Wing Wrestling, we bring the elite to you. My name is Krishna, and joining me, as always, is Mr. Bill Cutbush. Bill, how's it going?
Did you know it's hot outside?
I know it's like 40 degrees outside. Yeah, I've heard. I
It's
have
nice. I
heard.
went I went for a nice walk today. I came home completely and utterly drenched, but that's what water's for. That's what showers are for. So yeah, I would much rather be able to throw on a quick pair of shorts and a t-shirt and go outside than have to put on 27 layers of clothes and trudge through snow and boots and blah blah blah. So
Oh
yeah.
no, I don't know. This heat is his heat is crazy. Like 40 degrees. That's disgusting weather outside.
And yet we can breathe, which is kind of nice now that the smoke has
The
moved
smoke,
out.
yeah, the
Yes.
smoke is no longer there. That's right.
Yeah, so it's not so bad. Not so bad. I had to have the windshield replaced on my car today. That's always
Oh,
good times, you
nice.
know.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, had a nice big crack in it. So
Oh,
thank you, Dump
okay.
Truck Stone.
Of
That was
course.
very awesome. So yeah, that was good times, but that was about it. That was about it. Oh, and before we get any further, I would just like to take one moment and wish all of our American listeners a very happy Independence Day. I hope all of you have sat back and listened to Bill Pullum's speech 3 or 4 thousand times today because it is the best speech
Independence
ever.
Day. That's
That's
right.
right. But anyway, yeah, to return, how was your? Because we celebrated Canada Day 3 days ago, which is, of course, the birth of our nation here. And we had a holiday, which is also, the holiday was celebrated in Canada for workplaces and stuff yesterday, which is why we are here one day late, because yesterday was technically kind of a holiday for us.
Yeah.
So how did you spend your long weekend?
Didn't do much. I spent the long weekend with the nieces, just uh, watch them play in their pool and stuff like that. The water looked great because it was just crazy hot outside. Um, yeah, went bowling. That was fun, and that was it. Not much. Didn't do much, and it just felt good to relax.
Relaxing is good. I'm a firm and strong advocate of relaxing, also a firm and strong advocate of naps. Naps are also
Mm,
good.
hmm.
But yeah, anyway, we are not here to talk about naps. We're not here to talk about holidays or long weekends. We're here to talk about professional wrestling. And specifically on One Winged Wrestling's weekly show, what we are going to do is talk a bit about some news that impacts the non WWE world of wrestling. We will then be, engaging in some reports, including Krishna giving his AEW Roundup, where we'll look at Rampage and Collision from the last week or anything else AEW related. And I will be giving the report from Japan, which, of course, will 98% of this be focusing on Stardom because, they did have Stardom in Sunshine on my birthday during Forbidden Door. Well, not during, before Forbidden Door and the Smash shows. And it was put out on Stardom World last week, so we're going to talk about it. But are you ready to get into some news first?
Let's do it.
Okay. We don't have a lot of extensive news today, but we have a few little points to bring up because we've been talking about collision ticket sales on this show because it's kind of interesting. AEW's introduced this brand new show and they stuck it on a Saturday night, which is a difficult time slot for wrestling. And they started up the new show, and it turned out Toronto, which had sold very few tickets for the collision, ended up getting 5,000 paid seats in for collision.
Okay.
Um, but because they had barely 2,000 a couple weeks before collision actually happened, but they got the 5,000 based essentially on a combination of discounted tickets and people hearing about collision as being a major show and the fact that CM Punk was on it. So it was kind of a combination of all those. The Hamilton show was just under 3,000 paid. They had had a really bad advance on this show. What happened was they lowered the tickets to
Mhm.
$16 Canadian and papered a lot more tickets than usual.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. Huh.
Indeed. Yes, and so we'll keep our eye on those ticket sales going forward, but it's it's too early to tell yet if Collision is going to be Rampage deux or dos if you're American. But yeah, it still doesn't look great. They're having to discount a lot of tickets. So yikes. I hear the Regina show is not selling particularly well, so I guess we shall see.
Ooh,
I really hope it
that's
gets better. I really do.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, I mean, I've been thinking about like Collision, and I guess the draw is CM Punk, and there's a lot of good wrestlers on there actually,
Mhm.
but I get outside of Chicago, Punk is a heel, right? Um, and I get CM Punk when he said, people who weren't there shouldn't be judging, but the whole world was really included in this whole brawl out, so people made decisions, and hey, they sided with whomever, but like the weird part is like watching AEW, like the WWE has a lot of house shows they have, and I'm not calling this a
Mhm.
house show, but their house shows do pretty well.
Mhm.
Um, and like SmackDown and Raw, they do well in Canada. I just don't know if is it the venues they're choosing. Like, and you don't really hear WWE going to Hamilton a lot, right? Maybe for a house show here and there, but not really Hamilton. So maybe that might be the first issue. But now they're going around like this is like these smaller arenas, and I'm like, I don't know, right? Like, I mean, like if your two big Canadian stars, Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega, are on Dynamite, then the fans are probably most likely going to go to Dynamite. See, if Jericho had suddenly hopped over to Collision for a few shows, I'm like, I bet you would sell more tickets. But
Mhm.
like, you have
Well,
them both at Dynamite.
all they had to do was look at the reaction Kenny Omega got in
Mm-hmm.
the Air Canada Center to understand how much Canadians love Kenny Omega.
Yes,
End of story.
that's it. You're right. You're
So,
right.
so you put Kenny Omega on the show, and guess what? It's going to sell tickets more so than CM Punk in this country.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we'll see how they do when they get down to the states too. But quick note on Kazuchika Okada that I found very interesting. Just a little trivia fact I thought I would mention because we were surprised that he tapped out to Brian Danielson
Mm-hmm.
at Forbidden
Mm-hmm.
Door. I mean, not only did Brian Danielson beat him, but he tapped him out, and I was like, "Whoa, tapping out Okada!" Okada has only tapped out once before, to Shinsuke Nakamura in
Ooh,
2015 in the G1. That was it. So, I mean, Danielson beating him by tapping him out, that's huge.
tapping him out with one hand. Yeah, no,
Mm-hmm.
that was absolutely, like, I mean, amazing,
Yes,
right? And it,
absolutely.
it felt like it when Okada tapped out. I was like, wow, he tapped Okada,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's not something people do, right? And listen, it felt big, and deservingly so. It was big. So
Right. Absolutely. Quick update on yours and my favorite wrestler in AEW, Trench.
trench.
Trent. Brandon Gutzman was removed from AEW's roster page. It looks like he's gone. He'd been performing as Trench in Swerve Strickland's Mogul Affiliates faction. He never wrestled a single match in AEW and apparently is now no longer with AEW.
I've been hearing like Parker Boudreaux is also gone as well, right?
That's quite possible.
Yeah, so we're not surprised. The minute the Mogul Empire, wait, what
Affiliates
is
became
affiliates?
the.
Yeah,
Please do not associate a word as cool as Empire, which goes with United very well.
the Mogul Empire. Like when they joined together and Trench and Boudreaux just disappeared, it made sense. Like, you have Brian
Yes.
Cage, you have the tag team that always keep
Gates of
forgetting.
Agony,
Gates of Agony. Like, you
Leona,
have you
and
have you
Khan.
have
Yeah.
you have the guys there already. You don't need
Mm-hmm.
this, right? So, hey, they tried something. They tried new people. It didn't work. They pivoted. Good on them.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yep, that's it. Goodbye, Trench. We barely got to know you.
Trench.
So I got my copy of Fight
Mm-hmm.
Forever. I have not yet played Fight Forever because I've had a lot to do, and unfortunately, I am an adult.
I'm an
No.
adult.
So I threw it on the ground. No. Yeah, I just haven't had a chance to play it, but I will be playing very soon. But do you have any further updates, thoughts on the game? Have you tried
Well,
any other stuff with it?
one thing, I thought so I said I bought the AEW Fight Forever on PS5, and they also gave me the PS4 version for free. And I mentioned to you the PS4 version keeps crashing every time I try to
Mhm.
load it. It's not just me. Apparently, this is an issue that's going around with PS4 owners right now.
Oh, this should
So
be great then.
yeah, so Ukes has said they know of the issue. It's been reported. They're trying to fix it. So what I guess if I only had that version, I would be very upset, right?
Right.
But playing the game, just a few things. Like I've been having fun. Fun was still having the same fun. Like I'm learning. Like again, the controls are easy. The moves are easy to pull off. It's just fun. The game needs to improve, and it will. Actually, Kenny Omega on an interview recently just said he's really excited for the Stadium Stampede that's going to be released and the other wrestlers who are going to be released. Right. So I can't wait. The one thing I found weird at first was when I went to Kenny Omega. Obviously, I played with Kenny like I don't know how many times already, but I played like 50 matches, but does not with Kenny, with other wrestlers as well. And I thought it was kind of odd that they only had one ring attire for Kenny and the other wrestlers. I was like, that's really weird. It turns out that's not necessarily true. Some wrestlers actually do have multiple attires, but you oddly have to go into the edit a wrestler section and add their costumes there. That doesn't make any sense, but when you do add them, then suddenly when you select the character, you go to options, it actually gives you all like the different costumes. Very, very weird choice that they did there. Don't know why they did it. Like one thing I do think is kind of cool is the fact that on their virtual store, so when you get money from playing the game, you can go buy stuff. I bought the Young Bucks alternate costume, and it was the one from the steel cage match against the Lucha Brothers where they were Nick had like the Hulk Hogan type makeup on, so it's cool that when you add that costume and you actually add it to like one of the presets, it actually changes their entire look and everything, which I think is kind of cool because that means that down the line they can just continuously just release costumes and stuff like that, right, which kind of makes sense. And I don't hate that. I just thought that when you got the game the first time, you'd get costumes with it, alternate costumes.
Well, I don't mind the idea of having to play to unlock stuff either. That's fine by me, right? So the in-game currency to buy costumes, I'm used to that with these kind of games. WWE's done that a bunch too, so that's fine. I have no issue with that at all. It is kind of weird that you'd have to go into the edit mode though to get some of the costumes set up. That's kind of strange. I would never even have thought of that.
Nope.
I would have just been like, why do I only have one setting? Because I'm
exactly what I did. I'm like, why is there only one costume? And the thing is, it's the Kenny Omega costumes are unlocked right when you start the game. I didn't even realize that. And here's another just a gripe I have. I'm finding these things out from the online community, right? It's not like it's listed anywhere. Hey, go here and do. No, it's like you have to go in and play around. And guess what, guys? If you haven't played video games in a while, these games don't come with any instruction manuals or anything like that inside them. So you literally have to go online, play around with it and stuff like that. And that again, minor gripe, but I'm having so much fun. Like the moves are so cool. Like watching the One Wing Angel, watching Freud's Wrath, and like watching the actual moves, how they're supposed to be and not named whatever they are in like the WWE games. They just look so cool. They look so cool. And the wrestlers, like it's funny for some odd reason, I had to like, I guess they must have souped up Jade Cargill, but I had a match with her and I had to like apply a submission like 3 times to just get her to tap out because I was trying to get like one of the daily achievements. But I wasn't bored, and that's a good thing. I was actually having fun, and I'm excited for the new items that are coming out. So as I said to you, you asked, are we going to review the game eventually? I said, yeah, but I feel like it's going to be like part 1 of multiple reviews we'll do, right?
They've said this game is meant to last years.
Yeah, but
this isn't going to be a title that they're going to release every year. This game is meant to last, which means they will likely have continuous updates for it, continuous added content, that kind of stuff, right? So more costumes, more wrestlers.
I'm waiting for the New Japan pack, right? They've already said that they're releasing a New Japan pack eventually.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, so
this is the first I've heard it.
Yeah, so Okada is gonna be there. Ospreay is gonna be there, and everything like that. So I can't wait for that. Obviously, for some odd reason, they're going to be releasing I forget the name of what they're calling it, but it's a pack that has the bunny.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And this other wrestler, and then they have the Danhausen and Hook pack. I was like. Okay, another odd thing. Just quickly before we move on. The Hardys were released, and I think I told you about this. They're released, but I had to go under the team section.
Yeah, you mentioned that last week. Yeah,
and I'm like, so is this going to happen with every team that gets released?
Maybe we have to edit them together, right?
But
That's fine.
the cool
Whatevs.
news is that you can put any people together. So I was laughing. Someone made a comment the other day. The blind draft that they're doing right now.
Mhm.
They're like you guys like AEW missed your opportunity to put Orange Cassidy and Juice Robinson together so they can form Orange Juice. And I was like, oh my god, they
That's the
should have done
best team
that.
ever.
They should have done
It's
that.
orange juice.
Orange Juice, right?
Nice.
But yeah, no. Again, don't listen to what people are saying online. Go play this game. It's if you're a fan of like the No Mercy era games, like the NWO WCW Revenge, this game is for you. It's like they made this game for you. Kenny Omega was right, and he's always right. They made this game for you.
He said he was going to beat Will Ospreay at Forbidden Door. He wasn't right.
He is always right, Bill. There's always reasons. Okay,
Well,
reasons.
speaking of Kenny Omega,
Mm-hmm.
we've decided tonight we're going to deviate a little from our normal thing. We're going to have a little discussion because there's
All
been a
right.
lot of talk post Forbidden Door of a certain spot that Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega engaged in, where Will hit Kenny with a Tiger Driver 91, which he has since renamed, I think, Tiger Driver 93 because it's Will's birth year. And the bump that Kenny took looked pretty vicious. Like he basically comes down his neck and head.
On his head, yeah.
Just flush on, right? Yeah. And so there's been a lot of discussion about this move, right? And I mean, so Dave Meltzer said in the Wrestling Observer newsletter this week, and I'm going to quote it. Bear with me. It's a paragraph, but I'll do it quickly. Omega and Ospreay are so driven to put on classic matches that they've taken themselves to a dangerous place in attempting to top the levels they've already reached. We are long past the days when Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat could have one of the best matches anyone had ever seen and then come back the next day and pretty much do it all again. Omega and Ospreay are working matches that have career-shortening consequences. Ospreay at 30 has talked about giving up independent bookings soon because of all the injuries he's working through. Omega's injuries were devastating throughout 2021 when he was the consensus wrestler of the year, until he had to take time off 9 months for surgeries and healing to come back strong. In this match, he took a Tiger Driver 91, which Ospreay is now marketing as the Storm Driver 93, basically dropping Omega on his head. Omega tilted his head before landing, but it was still concerning. He finished the match and said afterward that he was okay, but very sore. But it was a scary angle that with one minor slip could have been a career ender on someone who had risked his career for the art many times and skated on the borderline. The match would have been a match of the year candidate without it. Yet because of that spot, this match will likely be remembered for it. Now, Omega seemed to respond in an interview with Uprocks this week, and he said, people that wanted to shit on something, or people that want to frown upon something, or people that want to say, well, if it were me, I wouldn't have done that. I didn't get to where I was by being able to do things that everyone else could do. I realized and I recognized that I do have special talents that maybe not everyone else can do. Without revealing too much, I think a lot about my health. I think a lot about life after wrestling. I think a lot about my current life. I think about next week's Dynamite, the week after that. I would never do something I didn't trust myself in performing 100%. And finally, Lance Storm was commenting on Figure 4 Daily with Brian Alvarez. He said, based on this spot, his first response was that he would never have taken that bump. Right? Like never. He saw the spot. He's like, I would never take that bump. And Dave and Brian, both those guys, both those guys, David and Brian, Lance Storm said, these guys know they'll be able to work. They'll be able to take time off. So it's okay to have matches like that. And Lance Storm said, that sounded so weird to me. When I was trained, the mentality and thought process was don't do anything that will hurt anyone ever. I never planned any bumper spot around, well, I'll have to take a few weeks. I'll have a few weeks off to recap. Things will catch up to you. He noted that in his old career, if he missed the next day, he'd lose money in both WWE and WCW. If Kenny got his neck jammed up and had to take time off, he still gets the same money. He finds the mentality disturbing. Like Lance said, he's currently dealing with some neck issues, right? And they're minor, and he didn't do anything that crazy in his thing. He says he never willingly took a bump on his head. He fears for the future and what these guys are going to feel at his age. Are Dave, Lance, others who have had these criticisms wrong, or is Kenny right? Do we ask too much from these wrestlers today with these matches?
So your favorite wrestler, Kevin Nash, actually spoke up about this. Okay. And he actually said, Kenny, you make way too much effing money to be taking that bump. He's talking about this on his Click This podcast. He says, this is effing He said, "This is effing. This is heat. I mean, number one, Ospreay's got serious heat with me because he just almost crippled my favorite wrestler." And he's like, "That's effed up." So that's Kevin Nash's take on it. My take on it, okay. Kenny walked away. He did. And as a performer, he's gonna say, you know what? We're professionals. We do this. This is what we do. We put our bodies on the line every day. We're gonna do this. This is also the same guy that said, I don't know if I can do the things I could do before based on the injuries I took when I had to take a whole year off, right? You know me and shots to the head. I don't think they belong in this anymore, right? Every time Dustin Rhodes gets busted open, someone takes a chair shot to the head. I'm always like, was that necessary? You know what? I'd rather see the thumbtacks to the feet, right? like because
yes,
is that I understand what Kenny's saying, but I'm gonna have to disagree with him here. That spot, I watched it again. We were there and I missed it.
Well, yeah, because we were way up in the stands.
I remember the audience reacting to it. When I went home and I watched that match again and I saw that spot, I'm like, first I was like, did Will miss it? But no, that's the move. That's the move, right? Is that move necessary these days? Think about it this way.
To be honest, that move doesn't always hit just like that.
Yeah, well, exactly. So regardless. But you look at the match. It was like payback for like when Kenny was smashing Will's head into the actual table, right? So if you look at how Kenny was taking his table bumps there, where they were trying to break that little sign on the table that was bending, he was not blocking, but he was putting his shoulder into it, right? So that one there, you're like, okay, he's still hitting his shoulder, fine. This one here, anything could have went wrong. Anything could have went wrong, right? Look at Stone Cold taking the pile driver from Owen Hart, right? That was a mistake. It happened. Like Owen Hart didn't mean to do it, but he tried to protect Stone Cold as much as he could, but it messed up. This one, when Kenny's falling, there's no protection there. There's nothing. And I agree with Meltzer saying in terms of, I get it. They're trying to one up. You guys are already having the matches of the year, guys. Guys, you really are. With Meltzer saying, without that move, you still would have had a contender for match of the year, regardless, right? Just the way that they perform. It's dangerous. Like, could you imagine if something happened? Like, I can't. I just can't. And listen, these guys are professionals. I think that they planned it. They knew what they were doing. But that move is so dangerous. I'm like, when I see it, I'm like, every time I see it, I'm like, did he let go of him? What's going on right now? And you see Kenny that's falling onto his head, and he kind of twists a little bit to protect himself. And you know what? Lance Storm is just telling them, guys, I've been through this already. And you know Kenny's protecting Will because Will's gonna take heat on this. So Kenny's protecting Will, and Will was never intended to injure him in any way. It was their move they planned out. But my whole thing is, I don't know. I don't think that move is needed with all the crazy stuff we see people do. Would you really need to just kind of do that?
But that's the whole thing, right? Like, have we gotten to the point now where if we don't get the crazy stuff, can we have a good wrestling match?
Yes.
Like, do fans expect? And yeah, see, that's just it. I also say, yes, Meltzer's not wrong when he says, without that spot, that match is still a match of the year candidate. It didn't need the Tiger Driver. It could have been anything, backbreaker, anything, right? Anything else could have been anything else. And it's fine that they did it and they got through and whatever, right? But it really does call into question because we see this all the time. Sting going through the table.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
How many Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara spots have we seen that you and I have completely forgotten about?
Yeah, because they just do it like all the time.
Yeah. And we've just completely forgotten about them. It's like they don't really mean anything anymore.
No.
Because it's not those spots that make the matches as much as we love the spots, right?
Yeah.
And I mean the good spots, like the Kingo spots, Lucha Brothers spots, you know, like that the kind of spots. Fun athletic stuff that's actually pretty damn safe when you look at it, right? But I'm going to maybe injure myself on a ladder spot, right? Like, okay, we get it. Once in a while, sure, pick your moments, but don't become known for, and like Lance Storm talks about this too, right? Like, don't become known as the guy who every single time is going to put yourself through a table because your career will be 10 seconds long, right? Like it's
Like, did we
you're going
forget
to
that?
kill yourself.
Did we forget that Kenny did a V trigger to Moxley through a steel cage just a couple weeks ago and almost
Mhm.
ripped his knee off?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, this is the guy again who wrestled so much with all these injuries, who had to take not a year off
Mhm.
basically just to recover from said injuries.
Yes. And Will's working hurt right now.
And here's my thing. I get it. I get it. Kevin Nash is not wrong. These
No,
guys make too much money to be taking these type of bumps.
I don't care if they make $20. Okay.
Just don't get it.
Like
Yeah.
like in all honesty, like, you know, you see it sometimes too. Like if you have a big show, it's one thing, but is it like a week in, week out thing to be getting yourself body slammed on thumbtacks at some
No,
gymnasium in Toronto?
no, no.
Like why? Why?
Like,
Right?
and listen, as I said, I know mistakes happen, but there was no mistake with this.
No.
This was the planned move.
Yep.
This was an unnecessary move that could have gone wrong. And this is where I think, we do make fun of the WWE. We do all the time. They've banned moves for specific reasons, right? Like, listen, I'm not gonna say go ban the pile driver. I'm not gonna say that.
No, because it's a pretty damn safe move. Yeah.
But something like this, it's like, okay, if I'm Tony Khan, you're my asset. Okay, I'm paying you a lot of money for this stuff. You're making me a lot of money. What happens if it goes wrong?
Right. I think we also need to be a little bit careful because a Tiger Driver properly executed isn't gonna destroy anybody, right? Like I think in this case, both of them were going fast, both of them were working frenetically, whatever, right? Does it every move? As remember that I cannot remember his name, and that's terrible, but the gentleman, the wrestler who died in a Mexican ring a few years back, the move that killed him was a 619.
Yeah, the kick. Yeah, no, it wasn't even 619. He got kicked in the back and his head went back a little bit, and that's how he broke his neck. Like that's when Ray realized that it happened, right? And you're right. Those are freak accidents.
Yep.
You're right.
But I mean, how many of these kind of moves did he have happen to put his neck in that position in the first place?
Fair enough.
Right? Like that's the thing, right? Like do wrestlers kind of have like
a shelf life?
Was it Eddie Kingston who talked about it like a punch card? You've only got so many punches in the punch card before you run out of time. I don't think it was Eddie Kingston, but someone made that analogy. And before you've punched your last hole in the punch card, right? So
but think about it. We always talk about the wrestlers like Omega and Ospreay, who are great at selling as well, right? And when they sell some of these moves, you're like, you're landing on your neck when you're doing some of these things, right?
Yeah.
Like, how are you selling these things every time? And I'm always like, is it worth it? You're right. There's a shelf life. Is it worth it?
Yeah. And I mean, there are, like I said, you can have a match full of really hard hitting, really big moves and be totally safe, sell like crazy, convincing story, great story. Because what are we all looking for in a match? Wrestling is about stories. More so than anything else, right? A great match that is accompanied by a great story is what makes it. That's why Omega Ospreay has been great. Yes, they're having phenomenal wrestling, but it's the story around them and their storytelling in the ring and stuff that makes the match. Just two guys hitting each other with a whole bunch of hard hitting moves, but doing it with the story around it, awesome. Right. And I think that's it too, is that more attention to story. And you guys can put on a 99% of the moves you guys do. Go for it. Just watch each other's head and neck, please. Because Kenny, Will, all of you, we love you all. Like all of you, even like Wardlow. Okay, man. Like wrestle safe, guys. Wrestle safe. Because like we love professional wrestling. We love like everybody. We don't want to see anyone get hurt at all. Like I don't care who they are or what company they work for. Don't get hurt. Wrestle safe. And just like I'm not a wrestler, so I don't know 100% what goes on or how you guys figure out your stuff or whatever. Doesn't matter to me. I just don't want people to get hurt.
Big E almost died last year from a suplex that went wrong. Right? He could have died. He could have been paralyzed. And we're still doing this stuff.
It just they got to be careful. Okay? But
That's
you know what? No matter how careful they are, we will still have accidents because
Freak
it's a
accidents
physical
happen.
sport. It's a physical sport, right? I mean, all you got to do is, as Dante Martin found out, is land wrong on your ankle, right?
That's it.
Although, trying to do that dive from that high up, there's another guy who's out because he tried a crazy stunt.
Yeah.
So, guys, be more careful. We would love to be watching Dante Martin matches right now
We
because we
would.
love you, Dante.
We
We
really
do.
would.
Anyway, so we're hopeful that people are safer. But Kenny, we love you. Will, we love you. Don't get hurt. That's all we have to say. I think
Speaking
I've
of
said we
Kenny,
love you enough times now. Do you think?
and speaking of Kenny, he's fighting this week, so
Yeah,
I'm
I know. I know.
excited.
Yes, we'll be talking about that tomorrow. But before that, you know what I like to play after every pay per view, right? My favorite
What's
game
that?
show.
Guess the
Guess the
stars.
stars. Are you ready for the Forbidden Door
All
edition
right.
of Guess the
All right.
Stars?
Let's see that. Let's
Okay,
hear this.
let's
Let's
do
hear
it.
this.
MJF versus Tanahashi. Guess the stars.
I'm gonna say Meltzer gave it 3.5 stars.
You're very close.
Okay.
3.25
Okay.
stars.
Okay.
Yep, a little less than you thought he would
Yeah.
give it, but yes. Punk versus Kojima.
I think this one's similar. I think he gave this one about 3.5.
4 stars.
Well, Kojima looked better than the Ace, but the match wasn't as good as the other one.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Cassidy
Sure.
versus Zack Sabre Jr. versus Garcia versus Shibata.
I would have given this match easily because I thought the match was fantastic. I would have given this match a 5. I'm gonna say
Whoa.
Dave gave it 4.25.
He gave it 4, so he liked it just as much as the Punk and Shibata match.
That's ridiculous. Like that those should not. If you gave Punk 4, this should have gotten a 6. All right.
Right. But what about the Blackpool Combat Club and Takeshita taking on the Bucks, Ishii, and Eddie Kingston?
I think he liked this one a lot more. So I'm gonna say if he gave this one, he gave last one the same as he's gonna give this one a 4.5.
4.75.
Ooh, almost a 5. Okay.
Yeah, 4 3/4. Sting, Darby Allin, Naito versus Le Suzuki Gods.
Okay. All right. Now, obviously we saw this match. This was an okay match, right? It wasn't like a terrible match. So I'm gonna say Dave gave it less. Oh wait, did he give it less than Punk? No way. Okay. I'm gonna say he gave it 3. Wait, no. You know what? I'm gonna say he gave it a 4. I'm gonna say he gave it
a 3.
So wait, he thought the Punk match was so much better than this match?
Yes.
No way. No way.
I know. Sometimes, Dave. Sometimes. Okada versus Danielson.
Oh, this definitely. He gave this over 5. So he must have given this 5.25.
4.75.
What?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And finally, Omega versus Ospreay.
He had to give him a 5. He gave him a 5. 5 out of 5.
He gave them a 6.
Really? So I've been joking about the 6, and he gave them a 6. Okay.
He gave them a 6.
I don't disagree with him.
Yes.
I don't disagree. But if you're gonna give them a 6, then you should be giving Danielson a 5, because that match was great. Like, it was actually a really great match. It was slow to begin with, but when it took off, that match took off.
Yes.
So
yeah, it was a really good match.
Yeah.
And that means we've concluded our edition of Forbidden Door Guess the Stars. Your final score, 0.
Damn it. Damn it.
Do you have a dirt sheet for us this week, Denai?
No, nothing really to talk about. Like, I mean, I'll talk about Collision when I get there, but nothing to talk about.
Okay, well, there you go. And speaking of Collision, it is time for the AEW Roundup.
So we'll start just quickly with Rampage. Not really much to talk about on Rampage, but I'm not gonna mess up his name, but Claudio versus Commander was a good match. I like this match. It's just, it kept Claudio strong, right? It seemed like everything Commander was kind of doing, Claudio just had an answer for it. So it wasn't a squash match, but it was probably what I thought was the best match on Rampage, period. They had some other stuff. I mean, Valkyrie versus Sheeta. Sheeta's great. I really like Sheeta. I just don't like Valkyrie. I really don't.
And the right woman won.
Yeah, of course, right. But like, the Matt Hardy and Brother Zay versus Johnny TV and QT Marshall, it was okay. I mean, it wasn't terrible. I'm just wondering, are they ever going to reference the fact that Johnny and Valkyrie are together? See how they reference everyone who's a
Yes,
couple,
of course.
right?
Maybe eventually. Maybe eventually.
Maybe. But I mean, obviously, if you're gonna watch one match out of that show, like I'd say Commander versus
Yep.
Castiglione,
And of course,
Claudio.
Castagnoli winning that by basically knocking him out with an uppercut was pretty damn cool.
I love Claudio in AEW. People are saying he's boring. I'm like, this guy is.
Those people are like WWE fans.
Yeah, because they're like he was never as good as he was as like the Bar. I'm like, really, the Bar? I mean, listen, the Bar was funny. I'm not gonna lie. Him and Sheamus were not bad. I actually liked them as
they were fine.
Yeah,
I mean,
but not
for that
like
kind of stuff.
You're telling me that's better than the Blackpool Combat Club? Check yourselves, guys. Check yourselves there.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. No, you're gonna say?
Oh no, go ahead. I was gonna make a House of Torture comment, but I'm done
now. Moving on to Collision. Just a reminder, again, Collision that's being filmed in these weird places in Canada right now. So I just don't understand. Ethan Page versus MJF. So MJF, the hardest working man in AEW right now. MJF is now wrestling everywhere. Yes. He made his Collision debut. I like this. Because MJF is a great wrestler. Ends up squashing some random dude. I didn't even catch his name. And then he does the whole heel challenge, right? Ethan Page comes out. Ethan Page, who cuts a pretty face promo.
Yep. Oh, so it was total face promo.
So I guess they're turning him face because he's with Hardy, right?
Or it was just he was in Canada. And cut the,
and from Hamilton too. So I mean,
yes, exactly.
Why not? So Ethan Page hits the twist of fate.
Yes,
which I thought was kind of funny. Power slam, like it was a good match. But MJF wins. There was no way MJF wasn't gonna win, and we knew that was gonna happen. Here's what happened afterwards though. Miro came out, challenging my boy Anthony Henry, and then just squashes him.
I hear that Anthony Henry guy is pretty damn good.
Anthony Henry is good. Tony Khan, you need to put Anthony Henry in a better situation than against Miro, who's just squashing people, and then nothing's happening after that.
Oh, because isn't that just what Miro does? He squashes people, cuts a few promos, and then gets into a bad match with someone that's actually long.
Yeah, I don't know. It just feels weird because he doesn't even have like a feud with anybody.
No,
right? Which is kind of odd. But whatever. I mean, Miro, again, I haven't really liked his wrestling since he joined AEW. I don't know what it is. We found out that Bullet Club has a few new members with the Gun Club. Interestingly, if you listen to the promo talking about how they're teaming up with Juice and Switchblade because of their years of experience, they want to learn from them, right? I'm like, wait, did CM Punk tell you to say that? Like, come on, right? But it's so funny hearing that. And then obviously Tony Schiavone telling them that how they're banned from the ring. Watching Jay White talk, I'm like, this guy needs to be pushed. Like this, listening to him, I'm like, Tony, I hope you know what you're doing. This guy needs to be pushed. If you're gonna push him against Punk, then great, do it. I do like. He calls out Punk about that whatever's in that bag. He wants a taste of that, right? Punk responds like immediately, and he's holding the bag, and he's like, "You can have one too, if you want to go buy a replica version of this, like MJF is carrying around." I'm like, wait a minute, did he just attacked MJF there, right? So I do feel like that is leading to something. It has to be leading to something. I would rather Punk versus Switchblade, and I would rather Jay White win the belt. I really would, because I have a feeling they probably are going to add another belt, but who knows? But the MJF story there, where he has the belt and Punk has Punk has the belt and he has the replica, or whatever you want to call it. I'm like, no, Punk, that's not how it works. You were injured. Okay, we have to take the belt away from you.
You got the title stripped. Tough shit.
That's it. That's it.
Did you hear the Elite whining about having their trios titles stripped? No, they just went back after them.
And they won it.
Yeah. Right? So get a life, Punk.
Yeah. But I do hope this goes in the right direction. Like maybe he challenges MJF for a rematch, but then But I guess that could work. I guess that really could work because he is kind of trying to be face, right?
I'll just file it under plot lines I probably won't care about.
Fair. Then I guess the second match was the another Owen Hart tournament match. It
Yeah,
was
they did a lot of those on
I know
Collision.
Collision.
Yeah.
It was Starks versus Juice. This match again just showed me like how good Juice is as just like a wrestler in general, right? Attacking like Ricky's leg. I don't understand. Like, was Ricky's leg hurt? Did he just start attacking it? I was like, I don't remember anything like that. The funny part that I liked, that I thought was kind of interesting, was like at the end where Juice tries a surprise roll up twice and fails, but yet Ricky tries it once and wins. I'm like, sure. There was no way I thought Juice Robinson was winning this match anyways. And again, I'm just Ricky Starks' match is just a bit boring for me.
Was it the Kishi Kasai though? Because it wasn't. And
It
that's,
wasn't.
it was just a roll up.
Regular surprise roll up.
Now, if you're using the Kishi Kasai, I would believe that you would just get him instantly, but you didn't.
Another surprise for you. Sean Spears showed up.
Yes, he did. He did.
He challenged Luchasaurus for a title shot, and Christian Cage accepted it, which I think is the funniest thing.
Yep.
Smart move, pushing Christian and Luchasaurus over to Collision, let Jungle Boy stay on Dynamite to let him build his character a little bit by himself over there. So yeah, I guess they're having this match eventually. I don't know. I think is it probably Wednesday? I have no clue.
We'll find out.
Then for some reason Chris Statlander was on the show and she faced off against Lady Frost again. Didn't she fight her like 2 weeks ago?
I thought so.
Okay, so
someone fought Lady Frost. Or was that Taya Valkyrie?
Oh, maybe it was Taya.
I think it was Taya Valkyrie right before it.
Yeah. I mean, Lady Frost is good. Statlander's good. I just didn't really care for this match because I don't understand her character anymore. I'm like, come on, like just go back to your alien character. I know, I get it. You're more than a woman. I get it.
Yes, she is more than a woman.
I get it. Something I was actually excited for. The House of Black is going after Andrade. I was like, wait a minute, what's happening here? So now they've stolen his mask.
Yep.
And they want to fight him.
Yep.
And he's got to find 2 people. Who's he gonna find, Bill? Obviously, I'm assuming he's gonna find Roosh and Vance. I guess Vance is gonna be the third.
Maybe, or he'll find like the Acclaimed.
No, he ain't finding the Acclaimed. they It's weird that the House of Black are kind of face, kind of heel. They're just the House of Black.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas that Andrade should be heel. That's just the way it should be. Right. So the House of Black can challenge anybody they want to. So if they want to challenge Andrade, why not? Yep. Right. I would love to see that trios match against.
Oh my God. Yeah. Against those 3. Yeah.
Whew, it's going to be amazing. And so I don't know. Maybe Vance. I guess it's going to be. I guess all I want to see is Roosh and Andrade back together. Those 2 are so cool together.
Well, I know, and then I want to see like any of the members of House of Black taking on like either one of those 2 guys.
Agreed.
Yeah. Give me that match.
And then the show ended with Samoa Joe destroying Roderick Strong.
Yes.
They really made Joe seem like strong. Like he seemed like that unstoppable force. Obviously CM Punk was on commentary and talking, and I was trying to ignore him. But I guess they're playing this up because they are looking for the opponent for Punk right now. Yeah. Which is weird because then Juice Rob. Anyways, there's so many things happening right now. Sorry, not Juice, but Switchblade. Yeah, this match actually was pretty good. This match was good. I mean, I think I love strong Samoa Joe. I love Samoa Joe destroying things. That's my favorite Samoa Joe. Yeah, Roderick Strong, I think like close to the end of the match, got a few like licks in on Joe. He gave him like the Kurt Angle move as well, and I was like, "Isn't that the move that Kurt Angle used to do?" The slam
Olympic
he does.
Slam. Yeah.
There you go. But then I do like the transition that Joe did into the is it the Coquina Clutch? Yeah, and just choked him out. Absolutely choked him out, and then started the beat down. I think good setup. I mean, Roderick Strong is like legit. He's strong. I like him. I like the way he wrestled. I really do. Yeah. I was kind of lukewarm on him when I first heard he was coming. I was like, whatever. But he's growing on me. I like the fact that they were showing like Adam Cole, like he's concerned about his friend, right? His friend is now hurt. um, and obviously, it's like Punk is now gonna stand up for the little guy. Because remember, Punk is in love with Adam Cole, right? He's like, Adam Cole is the greatest
Yes.
person, right? So of course his friends are his friends. Yeah, Collision. How does it compare to Dynamite? There's some good things, right? And
Mhm.
Dynamite's not perfect. But like I mean, like it just feels like it wants to be Dynamite, and it's not hitting with me right
Mhm.
away, right?
Right.
And also it doesn't have the Elite on there.
Well, I was about to
Let's be
say the
real.
reason it
Yeah,
doesn't hit right
yeah,
away is because it
yeah.
doesn't have the Elite
It doesn't have the Elite anyway, and
or
even
the
though the
Blackpool
Elite,
Combat Club, except
yeah,
for Claudio this week.
exactly. So I'm like very curious and interesting how Claudio was there, right? Mox
Mhm.
isn't going
Well,
there.
Mox is busy, as we will be discussing in a minute.
Yeah. Oh yes, that's right. That is right. Apologies.
Mhm.
So yeah. Collision was good. I mean, again, this is what their third week.
Mhm.
Yeah, third week that they've been doing it. I'll get again giving it a chance. Hopefully, like AEW needs some wins here.
Mhm.
Hopefully, they can sell some of those tickets to those shows. Maybe you know what? Maybe when they go back to the US, they'll sell more tickets.
Right.
Maybe, right? Um,
Probably. We'll
this
see.
Canadian tour is just not a good sign right
Well,
now.
I think the Calgary show is selling pretty well.
Okay, okay.
But
I
anyway, well,
I think if there was a chance, and I'll say it one more time, if there was a chance that one of those big Canadian stars were going to show up on Collision, you would sell more tickets. So it's one of
yes.
those things where it's kind of sad that obviously what happened is keeping everyone apart, but
Hmm.
they were also at Forbidden Door
Yes.
all together. Just
Yep.
remember that.
Yep. Even if they were in opposite ends of the
Who
building.
cares? Who
Exactly.
cares?
Right. Well, that is our AEW roundup, and we will now move on to the journey down Bushi Road. New Japan. Some quick news on New Japan. Today was New Japan Strong Independence Day, day one, and I've got some quick spoiler results for you. So if you don't like spoilers, check the timestamps. Fast forward to Stardom. Um, but now that I feel you all know there are spoilers coming, Willow Nightingale and Momokogo from Stars, the Stars faction, defeated Julia and Tekla on day one, with Willow pinning Tekla. By all accounts, she dominated Julia in the match. I have not seen the match yet, but she faces Julia one-on-one tomorrow for the New Japan Strong Women's Championship, in which I fully expect Julia to kick her ass.
Yeah, it's one of those like thinking of like this, hearing you describe that match. I'm kind of like, well, but Willow has like her 5 moves of doom. There's nothing more to it than
Mm-hmm.
that. So saying that she crushed Julia, I'm like, that sounds
Dominated her in places. Yes.
okay. It sounds kind of weird, but yeah,
Yes.
like, okay, sure.
That's fine. I mean, Tekla was obviously there to eat the pin. They got to build Willow up to make it look like she can actually challenge Julia, who happens to be one of the best, women's wrestlers in the face of the planet. And Willow's good, but she's not Julia. She's not Momo Kogo either. Or Tekla. Anyway, sorry, I'm a total Stardom homer. I'm worse with Stardom. Like, okay, Stardom for me is like Kenny Omega to you. Anyway, then
Impossible.
we
No
had
one's no one's like Kenny Omega, okay, to me.
exactly. New Japan Strong Open Weight Tag Team Championship also happened with the Bullet Club War Dogs, Alex Coughlin and Gabe Kidd representing the War Dogs. That is a faction within the Bullet Club now, the War Dogs.
Should they not just join Wardlow?
No, they're the War Dogs. They're much cooler than
But they can
Wardlow.
be part of Wardlow's back in. The
They
War
can't.
Dogs. Listen, I'm writing this stuff for them.
I know, but then they conflict with Bullet Club Gold. But they also defeated Bishamon, Hiroki Goto, and Yoshihashi to win the New Japan Strong
Oh,
Openweight Tag Team
okay,
Championship today.
okay, all right.
Then we had the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team match featuring Catch 2-2, TJP, and Francesco Akira, United Empire's own, getting beaten by Bullet Club War Dogs' other team of Drilla Maloney and Clark Connors. So they just got these titles and they haven't dropped them yet again.
Okay.
So now Bullet Club War Dogs have all the tag team belts except for the big tag team belts. They have the two small tag team belts.
When you switch title, we've said, like, okay, you never want to go on a Jade Cargill run, right?
Mm.
But when you switch titles too many times, it becomes the 24/7 championship, right? So,
Right, and they haven't quite done it that
yeah,
badly. You do have to have the occasional title that can
you do.
switch often enough, right? Like, for instance, I think what makes Orange Cassidy's run as international champion so great is that it has gone on a long time, and that's the kind of belt you would expect to switch more often.
But his matches are so good. You know what it is? It's the belts you'd assume that should be switched are TV belts. Like
Mm-hmm.
anything TV related, like TBS,
Yes,
TNT, those belts
right,
should be switched on TV,
right.
right? Or multiple times, I should say. And
Mm-hmm.
I guess in Wardlow's case, it has. But I mean,
Yes.
like, okay, sorry, continue.
Oh, no problem. Then we have the exciting Encounter Doomsday no disqualification match between El
Okay.
Desperado and Jun Kasai versus
LP.
John Moxley and Homicide. I sent you a clip earlier of Jun Kasai fighting Suzuki
Yes.
in a death match.
Yep.
It was pretty much like that.
Ow.
I've seen a picture of John Moxley with like all of the sticks sticking out of his head and blood pouring down his face. Um, yeah, it
Are
was
we
it
gonna
was
talk about?
bad.
Are we gonna talk about this again? About things that
I
just
know
are
we already talked about
unnecessary?
this once. This was a violent, bloody war. At one point, Kasai sliced Mox's face with a butcher knife.
Oh my god.
Mox stabbed people with forks. They had a board with forks in it that people got thrown in. They had like a crucifix board with razors in it that they were throwing people into. Yeah, it was apparently a big, bloody, violent mess. That's a little too far for my personal taste.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's people out there who love them some death matches.
No, thank you.
Suzu, I saw those clips of you and Jun Kasai. Never do that again. I know you were a death match wrestler, but we want you to wrestle a long time too. It's like I just want them all to be safe. But I know, look, trying to get Mox not to bleed is honestly like trying to get a cat not to purr. That's a terrible example, but you know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, that was the main event for that show. I think Mox is back on night 2 as well. So yeah, I think he's fighting El Desperado. So yeah. Speaking of El Desperado, he and Minoru Suzuki are currently working for New Japan in the Aussie Open situation. No contracts.
Oh,
Yes,
interesting.
very interesting. Wonder what will happen with them. I mean, El Desperado's pretty decent name, knows how to wrestle.
Yeah.
So
New Japan's got to be careful with those type of contracts because,
I
like,
know, right?
AEW will steal them from you.
There's a lot of federations with money
not
kicking around these days.
I wouldn't even say steal them.
Yeah.
There are other organizations who will just offer these guys
Yeah, I
contracts,
know.
right?
Like, would you like a contract, sir?
Yeah,
It seems you do not currently have one. I mean, Minoru Suzuki's getting kind of old, so I
he
think he
is, but
just
he's so much fun to watch
he
on
is.
TV.
But I also think he's at the point where he's just doing whatever the hell he wants and doesn't want to work for
Fair,
anyone under contract. So he'll
fair.
just go where the hell he pleases. And at this
Damn
point in his
it!
career, he has earned it.
Why
So
not just join AEW and just continue the Little Suzuki gods? I love
he can
it.
come back anytime and be part of the Suzuki gods, though, right? So
Oh,
anyway, that's New Japan. Now it's time for the main event of the evening as we have my report on Stardom in Sunshine. I'm not going to go through the whole card. We don't have time for me to go through every match in detail. I'm going to hit the big highlight matches. We had Melt here, Tam Nakano and Natsupoi and Kairi taking on Maika, Mei Sarah, and Suzu Suzuki, which are my new favorite trios. I'm really hoping that Maika branches out from Donna Del Mundo now that, you know, Himika's gone and she lost her tag partner, right? And she's got this whole new tough attitude. Her, Suzu, and Mei Sarah, holy crap, are they cool together? Like, that was like a match made in heaven. So I really hope they keep this up. This isn't the only time they've tagged together. So I hope Maika decides to go off and form her own faction with these two, because that would be pretty great. And, you know, Kairi hanging out with Meltier is pretty damn awesome too. But Natsupoi pins May with the bridging German suplex. May came out flying in this. I mean, it was so funny. She started out with these, like, this woman is so fast. You'd love her. But she came out with these 3 drop kicks, and Kairi dodged all 3 of them, and she just kept running at her and throwing drop kicks, even though Kairi's dodging out of the way. It was pretty great. But it made Kairi bail to the floor. But she took control into luring her into an arm wrench on the ropes. But then May came back with this high speed flurry, locking Kairi into a series of near falls. There was a point where Suzu matrix dodged a diving crossbody from Natsupoi. I mean, I've seen them, they dodge clotheslines. She matrix dodged a diving crossbody. It was so cool. Suzu beat Kairi down outside the ring for a while, including a second drop kick on the ramp. Micah powered Kairi and Natsupoi into the turnbuckle and then hit a double fall away slam. She's strong. The pairings are great, though. Micah versus Tam, May versus Natsupoi, Suzu versus Kairi. There's just so many awesome moments. There's this waterfall of top rope moves that ended in Tam hitting the tiger suplex on Suzu, but she popped right up and hit the tequila shot. It was just such a good match. Like, you put these 6 in the ring, you're not going to help but have a good match. So yeah, this was great stuff. Highly worth it. Check that match out. The new eras, Mariah and Amy Sorai taking on Rose Gold, which is the Club Venus team of Mina Shirakawa and Mariah May for the Goddess of Stardom Tag Team Championships. Mina pinned Ami Sorai with the glamorous driver Mina to become the new tag team champions with Mariah May. So now Club Venus, she's kind of redeemed herself a little from her loss of the white belt to Tam and came back and won this. So they are goddess champions. Mariah and Mina were excellent. I mean, Mariah did some great mat wrestling. Mina's selling was great. Mina is so good. I might hate Club Venus, but damn, Mina Shirakawa was good. And Mariah May has come a long way. She landed this great double DDP. It's 2 Diamond Dallas Pages. DDT on New Eras. Ami took it to Mina at one point. Fireman carry pin for 2. A torture rack into the turnbuckle. Vertical suplex until Mina dropped her with a back fist. Mina went after Ami's leg, though, of course. Got the figure 4 in for a long spot with Ami selling like crazy. She couldn't get her up for the glamorous driver. Mina, though, New Era hit a double face buster for 2. Ami couldn't put Mina away. Rose Gold hit an electric chair bulldog, but Mariah broke it up. That was like bulldog from that height was pretty cool. Mina then took it to Ami in a flurry of moves, ending with an implant DDT for a near fall, and then the glamorous driver Mina for the 3. Mariah looked legitimately like super emotional. Mariah May looked legitimately super emotional after this match, right? Like she's like, when she first came, I was like, oh, she's kind of in the ring. This woman is training like a beast, right? And it shows. But I guess to keep up with Stardom, you've got to, right? Like every wrestler that comes in from the outside, all of a sudden they get good, right? And it's pretty cool to watch. Then we had the real Triple B in wrestling, not that stupid belt that MJF has, but the Bari Bari Bombers, the Donna Del Mundo team of Julia, Tekla, and Mai Sakurai, the current Artist of Stardom, or the Trios champions, taking on STC, which is Stars Triple Crazy, the team of Mayu Iwatani, Hazuki, and Koguma. This was a steel cage. Now, the way Stardom does, they don't lower a steel cage from the ceiling. They have the frame around the ring for the entire event, and then they put up the walls essentially to build the cage, right? It's a probably much easier way than lowering it from the ceiling, to be honest. It also means that the pieces of the cage can be used in other matches, like the ones that are already on, because people are getting run into parts of the cage and stuff. So yeah. But this was hilarious to start with because Mayu Iwatani hates fighting in cages, and Stars comes out to start and Mayo's not with them. They had to go in the back and drag her out to fight the match because she refused. So they carried her into the ring and she just slumps in the corner sulking. And, she normally throws the baseball, right? So like they hand her the glove and the ball and she just kind of throws it over her shoulder, hits the cage and doesn't go out. And she makes like 2 more attempts, and finally, in like one of them, she gets it over the cage into the crowd. So it was pretty damn fun. I love Mayu so much. But the story of this match was Julia leading her team to the victory. Because the way they do the cage matches is the first team to have everyone escape wins. No pinfalls or submissions. Okay, so it's like the opposite of AEW cages. It's like no pinfalls, no submissions, get your ass out of the cage, right? In this, like I said, the story was Julia leading her team to victory. Tekla got out of the cage first after doing a spider German to Koguma, and this left STC with a 3-on-2 advantage that they capitalized on. But Hazuki was the next out. She tried to escape, but fought with Julia seated on the top of the cage, and this cage was pretty damn high, right? Hazuki beat her down, but rather than escape, she hit a diving senton off the top of the cage onto Julia first, then climbed out of the cage and left. Yeah, it was a hell of a senton. And Hazuki doesn't ever leave anything in the ring. So, pretty great stuff. Soon Julia, though, locked submission on both members of STC at the same time. The two remaining was a leg lock and a headlock, and then told Mai to flee. She's like, get out, I'll handle them. And so, she sends Mai out of the cage. Mai leaves. So that just leaves Julia there with Koguma and Mayu. And STC pulled off an awesome spinning Cazadora splash on Julia. Like, I was watching it go, okay, I see what move they're doing. And then they amped it up by doing like a 360 in the middle of it. And I was just like, what the hell was that? It was so cool. Followed by double missile drop kicks. Mayu then hit a moonsault, followed by Koguma hitting a diving crossbody from the top of the cage to the floor. That's how she got out of the cage. She didn't climb down the wall. She did a diving crossbody off the top onto the other members of the real Triple B on the floor. It was pretty insane. And this is the point where the match ramped up because you had Mayu and Julia left in the ring, and they had a hell of an exchange. At one point, Julia nailed a butterfly suplex off the top rope, but Mayu popped right up, nailed Julia with a tombstone pile driver, and both went down like stones. Julia soon hit the glorious driver, though, and a Northern Lights bomb, and managed to escape. And even after those two, Mayu was trying to climb up and get her down again still. But no, Julia escapes the cage, and they win. Solid match. The end between Julia and Mayu was great. There's some decent stunts you don't normally see women in Stardom pull off because they tend to be, in spite of the fact they do a lot of really hard hitting stuff, I wouldn't call them a super unsafe group of wrestlers. So, but then we had the pièce de résistance. Queen's Quest, Utami Hei, Shishita, Zumi, Saya Kamatani, Lady C, Hina, and Miyu Amasaki taking on Oedo Tai, Natsuko Tora, Starlight Kid, Momo Watanabe, Ruaka, Rina, and Saki Kashima in a loser leaves unit match inside a steel cage. So the last person left in the cage has to leave their unit. There is background to this. So as I've been talking about, Utami and Saya Kamatani, they've had tension between them for weeks going into this match, right? Saya's been questioning her leadership. She threw a bag of I think they threw out ice packs and stuff. They came to blows at one point. Saya tweeted leading up to this match saying how they were headed in different directions now. She had old memory pictures of her and stuff, and thanked Utami and full of gratitude. They've been through some hard times, tag team champs, but they're just headed in different directions now, right? Then we had Momo Watanabe at a press conference, one of the members now of Oedo Tai, the former leader of Queen's Quest. Keep that in mind. She used to lead this faction. She lost a Queen's Quest versus Oedo Tai match in December 21, which the losing captain had to join the opposing faction. But in a promo, she handed her bat to Saya and told her, look, I made a decision a year and a half ago to leave, and I'm better off. Saya doesn't need to be in Queen's Quest. I outgrew them. You outgrew them. You know what you have to do. Right? So we get to the match. Oh, and it is a weapons in the cage match as well. So Oedo Tai brings in chairs, a table, a ladder, all the plunder. And you think that this is going to be chaotic as hell to start and just completely impossible to follow. But no, Stardom seems to pull these things off really, really well. It wasn't impossible to follow. It was like, oh, wow, everyone's hitting some pretty cool moves. And you got to see everyone kind of do their stuff. I was like, wow, this was well put together. Good job, guys. It was still a brawl with people pairing off and double teaming and back and forth, right? But Oedo Tai comes out on top, sets up a table. Uraka does a diving splash onto Lady C, putting through the table. Hina and Rina had a spot where they arm dragged everybody. They're the sisters on opposite teams. They were just arm dragging, right? And they fought each other. Hina took Rina down, but it led to a waterfall with everyone involved. But this allowed Rina and Hina to escape. They had to get some escapes out early, right? Because there's a lot of people in this match. Zumi and SLK and Starlight Kid in one of their exchanges that ended in SLK tossing a chair to Zumi, kicking it. Utami then boosted, and this is your story. Utami her leadership's been questioned. And in this match, it was all about her and her leadership. So she boosts Zumi up, helping her to get out, right? Rather than escape, though, Azumi hits a diving double foot stomp to Saki Kashima from the top of the cage.
Oh my God.
You gotta trust the person to pull that move off. Holy crap. I just about lost it watching that. I was like, I've never seen anyone do a diving double foot stomp from that height before. It was just, and she hit it perfectly. Right? Totally safe. Perfectly. And Saki sold it like she'd been killed. This woman got their ass handed to her in this match. So poor Saki. Anyway, and then Azumi left. I love the fact that they do these big moves and then get the hell out of the cage, right? Queen's Quest then locked submissions on everyone else, allowing Miyu to escape. So they've got the submissions, and Tommy's directing traffic again. Get out of the cage. We've got him held back. But then Momo laid into everybody. Right, she laid them all out with her bat. Tora joined her with her, like, she carries a metal pipe, right, on Utami. They gave her a double spine buster onto a chair, allowing Momo to escape now. Then Lady C had this amazing run, like she was just killing everybody until Raka and Starlight Kid hit an assisted fisherman suplex on her, and then Starlight Kid drilled her with a chair. She then hit a standing moonsault to Lady C. Guess where? Off the top of the cage. Before climbing out. But then Queen's Quest came back, throwing Tora and Raka into a ladder in the corner, and then Lady C hit a double reverse STO onto the ladder before she climbed out of the cage. And then guess what? We are down to the two members of Queen's Quest left are Utami and Saya, taking on Ruaka, Natsuka Tora, and Saki Kashima. And then Utami disarmed Ruaka when she was going at her with the case, but then accidentally hits Saya with the case. Saki tried to escape, but Azumi blew a fire extinguisher on her face from the outside, which knocked Saki back off the cage and into the thing. Like I said, poor Saki. And then Utami hit an air raid crash off the second rope on Saki, which basically took her out of the match, right? But in the background, during all this happening, Ruaka got out of the cage. So Utami now tells Saya to head up the ladder and get out. And this was a moment, because Utami had every opportunity here now to turn on Saya, because they had the ladder propped up in the corner, making it a really easy way to climb out of the cage, right? She had every opportunity now. She could have smashed Saya into the ladder. She could have chosen to do anything and she chose not to. She legitimately helped her escape, leaving herself alone. So if Queen's Quest loses, Utami is the one that has to leave Queen's Quest. So she's left in the ring with the leader of Oedo Tai and Saki Kashima. Tora throws Utami off the mat again, where they go at it hard. They hit repeated lariats, so Tora nails her with a chain-wrapped fist and then a Death Valley driver onto the chairs. She tries to escape. Utami catches her and hits her with a back suplex onto the chairs. Utami tries to escape, but Tora catches her. Starlight Kid then hands Tora the steel bar through the rails, and she knocks Utami off the cage, busting her open. Now, you almost never see blood in Stardom matches, and Utami's like just a river running down her face at this point. By the way, that makes it 700 times more impactful when it never happens and then it does. I just thought I would like to point that out. So Starlight hit, like, knocks Utami out, busting her open. Tora then nails a diving senton. Guess from where? Natsuka Tora is not a small woman. And she nailed a diving senton off the top of this cage onto Utami. And I was like, are you effing kidding me right now? And perfect, picture perfect. Right? It's just like, holy crap. And then that left Saki Kashima and Utami. So Saki immediately tries to flee, right? And Utami catches her with a German suplex. Utami tries to climb to loud chants from the crowd. And as she's climbing, Saya looks up and starts to climb the cage herself from the other side of the cage, right? Now, at this moment, Momo comes up, goes partway up the cage, looks at Saya, and hands her the bat. The same, you know what to do, right? Mm-hmm. But, Saya turns on Momo with the bat, though, bats her off the cage, reaches down and pulls Utami up, helping her over. And for once in, I think, all of professional wrestling history, the tag team that couldn't get along actually makes up. This never happens in professional wrestling. She says something on the top, Utami nods, and they drop to the floor together. Queen's Quest wins, and Saki Kashima has to leave Oedo Tai. So, of course, Oedo Tai, in great Oedo Tai fashion, goes into the ring and beats the living hell out of Saki. I mean, Tora's just screaming at her, like, why did you lose? Why did you lose? Unit warfare is our pride. We lost because you're weak. We don't want you. And then she's like, you're kicked out. I mean, she was already out anyway, but she gets a chair. But then Utami comes back in the ring and spears Natsuko Tora, like, tears her in half with the spear. And then Queen's Quest fights back, getting Oedo Tai out of the ring. And Toro's just, Utami, I didn't lose to you today. Don't forget what you did today. I will pay you back for everything. So unit warfare will continue. And I mean, Tora, the acting all the way up the ramp, she was acting like someone who was just like absolutely furious, screechingly mad all the way up the ramp, right? It was so good. And then Azumi offered Saki the chance to join Queen's Quest, and Saki turned it down and left, basically crawling her way to the back at this point. So yes. And then we had the moment in the ring. Sai is like, she tells Utami that Utami says she thanked all of Queen's Quest. Everyone's efforts saved Queen's Quest today. She tells Kamatani she's sorry for everything. They're crying and hugging, and everyone's together in the ring, and tears are flowing, maybe even by the person watching the show. It was a really, really cool moment. And Utami said, no matter how times I think about it, I still love everyone in Queen's Quest. She thanks them all for believing in her. She'll never let them down as leader. And she says, follow me to the top of Stardom, bow down to the queens. And they leave. This was freaking awesome. I mean, the story going into this, the fact that like at the end, they set it all up to make it look like, Sai is leaving. Right. And the new Tommy's left in the ring. So Sai could take control of Queen's Quest. And like I said, first time in professional wrestling history, they actually have it where the group is stronger after they go through this together. What a concept, eh? Like, you don't have to break them up. Gee, wow. And it made such a good story. I mean, their moment at the end of this match was just so cool, right? I mean, so much Izumi's in the background, tears running down her face. It was so good. So good. Anyway, that was Stardom for this week. There will be lots more on Stardom next week, of course, because there was another pay-per-view this weekend that will be up, and I'm sure I'll have lots more to talk about in that one, plus some matches from some other shows that have been put up now finally on Stardom. They're a little behind on their weekly shows right now, but they'll catch up. But I would like to point out in this match, yes, some people did some dives off the top of the cage, but they were all, with the exception of the fact that Izumi had to be trusted big time with that double foot stomp. But I mean, she never misses anything. These were all safe. Like, these sentons did not come close to crushing anyone. Right? They were all perfectly hit sentons. Right? Every move that went off the top of that cage was totally safe, and they didn't do anything stupid crazy. None of them were like involving head bumps or anything like that. There were no like crazy weird suplexes and stuff. They did this whole match based on the story of Queen's Quest. And the match was freaking amazing. No titles on the line either. It was just loser leaves unit. Cool stipulation, right? And units mean everything in Stardom, right? So yeah, very cool, totally safe, great stuff. But that brings us to our match and wrestler of the week. What was your match of this week?
My match from the previous from last week was the Elite versus the Dark Order. I thought all six guys were fantastic. It really brought the Dark Order storyline potentially to a close, or maybe not. I think you're right; things are still gonna happen, but just watching the Dark Order get their shot main event, like against the Elite, like it was great. It was great. Watching him, the conflicted cowboy, conflicted millennial cowboy himself, like just trying not to get involved, and then getting forced into it, having to beat his friends down. And then the ending with him pleading with the Dark Order to help them, and then they just watch him get beaten down, and and they walk away. I was like, such a cool match. I'm like, all right, so that's my match for the week.
And that's a great choice because I loved that match. I loved the storytelling in it. I went on and on about it on our Dynamite review. Great match, and would have been my match of the week were it not for a certain Stardom in Sunshine pay-per-view in which we had Queen's Quest taking on Oedo Tai in a cage. And yeah, that's my match of the week because holy crap. Like, amazing wrestling, all the feels. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing work by Stardom. Yet again, best wrestling promotion on the planet. That brings us to our wrestler of the week.
Rest of the week, I'm gonna give it to Hangman Page. I think Hangman's always been amazing. I just think that this storyline with him in the Dark Order, actually is turning out pretty great. I didn't expect to go in this direction, but again, just watching him bloodied, beaten down, pleading with the Dark Order to help him, and they turned their backs on him for the first time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I can't wait to see where this goes, because at the end of it, he can't blame them for anything,
No.
right? So I'm very, very curious where this is going. So yeah, Hangman Page, so awesome. This guy's so
Yes.
cool.
Exactly. Yeah, and again, great choice, and probably would have been my wrestler of the week too, because his storytelling in that match was
Oh,
just
so good.
superlative. So good. But we then had Utami Hayashishita, whose storytelling in this match was insanely great. Because holy crap, the way that she directed her team, like all of the doubts around her leadership, and she was the one just taking the bullets for her team or helping them all escape first, directing traffic. Like her leadership in this match was so good, right? That's what I really liked about it, was that she was clearly Queen's Quest's leader, and no matter what had happened to her inside, helping her out of the ring, right? Making sure she got out. So if anyone was going to lose this match, it was her, right? And she just wouldn't let that happen. So, I mean, for her to come out and, in spite of all the problems, all the doubts, everything, to stand up like that and win the match. And of course, being Utami Hayashita, we got tons of incredible moves out of her. And she's wrestling in North America this week. Holy crap. Her first match is against Billy Starks in just a few days.
Pretty
That
awesome.
is awesome.
That's pretty awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus, they're coming, man. They're coming. See, it's gaining momentum. Soon they will be in a neighborhood near you, because these are the best women's wrestlers on the face of the planet. Well, there's a few of the best ones in places
Tony
like Tokyo
Khan.
Joshi Pro and stuff
Tony
too. But
Khan. You missed out, man.
yeah, exactly. So there you go. That is my wrestler of the week. I believe that's what, the third time I've called her my wrestler of the week, maybe, but she is one of the greatest on the planet. So yeah. But that brings us to the end of our rather long show, but we had a lot to talk about this week in terms of matches and things. But hey, we'll be back again tomorrow with our Dynamite review. But until that time, as the great one always says, goodbye, everybody. Mwah, and good night. Bang.
Good night, everyone.